Going on to movie reviews, this is Downsizing, where you go from big to small. It is a story that follows Matt Damon's character most of the time, and he lives in a world where they have the technology to take humans or other sort of organic material and shrink it down really, really small. This is done actually for a really neat effect throughout the entire film, where it's like, oh hey, look at this, everything's, big and they're small. And that's really the start of the film, is sort of this grand scale thing where they go through the process of learning whether or not they want to go through with it, and then he goes, and then basically the movie just kind of continues from there. It's very much a play on trying to teach people about, oh, the environment's important. It's kind of like a doomsday film. It's not quite what I expected. I was thinking it'd be more of a sort of comedy or even a drama or even an adventure or something in the small thing, but it's just kind of like a feel-good film, if that makes sense. Where he's just kind of doing good things. It was incredibly boring. It was one of the most boring films I've ever watched. My guest fell asleep twice while we were watching it. So that's kind of how that went. It was very unsettling to sit through. It's just, you're sitting there and it's just uncomfortable because of how slow. There's a couple good jokes, but they're more like making fun of someone because they're foreign, I guess, in a sense, that they can't speak English very well. That's what it came across as to me. I absolutely hated this film. It was well shot, considering, it gets the scaling right, so every scene feels like it's a big thing of wonder, and it was actually really nice, cinematography-wise. It was very pleasing to the eye to view. It's just like the plot wasn't very interesting, and I think there was a certain point where they went from, oh, this is really cool, there's so much potential what they could do with this, and then it just kind of went on and on and on. And then they were on a boat, and the boat scene went on and on. Like, it had a cool sense of wonder, but the whole thing was just so boring. I'm just like, I keep thinking of all the different possibilities of what they could have done with it, and as far as like things that could have happened in events, that could have made it more of an interesting, or like just anything with it. I was very displeased with how the narrative played out. The acting was good. Matt Damon was fine. It was just, he's stuck in this boring film where he's like this little guy, and that's it. They didn't even have very many interactions between, the small and the large. You get like, again, the first little bit of the movie is very, very interesting because it sets up so much potential, because there's like tension between the economy and the small people and the big people, and then kind of just like, small people, that's what we're doing now. And it just kind of trailed off. There's not a whole lot to say about the film because it really wasn't that entertaining. It felt longer than it probably should have, and it was a long film anyways. Definitely did not have a good time with it. I'm trying to think of interesting things that happened in it, but it's really just one of those feel-good where they go and try to do good things for the small people. It just kind of mirrors society to an extent too, with what happens in the film. I don't like to go over any spoilers, so I won't mention it, but it does have that mirrors of society, but it's just on a smaller scale. I don't know, the idea is interesting, it's just not deployed very well, and the execution just isn't there. I'd give it a 4 out of 10, and you can read my full review in the description below.